Welcome back to Control Alt Lead, the podcast from computing where we talk to IT leaders about what's moving in the market. My guest this week is John Seabourn, CIO at environmental consultancy APEM Group. Now, the environment is a hot topic right now, as is artificial intelligence. So we've blended those two. We're talking all about AI and its impact on the environment and the workforce now and in the future. Please enjoy. John, thanks for joining me today. Let's start by talking about APEM and your role there. So it's a big environmental consultancy. What does that mean?
Cool, great, and thanks for having me on the podcast, Tom. Really kind of enjoyed listening to these over the last few years, so great to be on it myself. So I joined APEM Group about a year ago as Chief Digital and Information Officer, and it's been a fantastic journey so far, leading our technology, innovation and data agenda. My role is responsible for our global IT, environmental data solutions team, and that includes our aerial survey operations, sensor technologies, and large volume data processing. Exciting area with recent advances in drones and sensors. With APEM, we've got locations across the globe, and we provide independent consultancy and expert scientific advice to a wide range of industries, including water, renewables, infrastructure, powers and utilities, ports and harbour, as well as regulators and governments around the world. And within that, we provide a wide range of services to our clients, including our world-leading digital aerial wildlife surveys, environmental impact assessments and approvals, marine, water and terrestrial ecology, geospatial insights, shipping and navigational risk assessments, rehabilitation and closure, heritage advice, and landscape visualization, to name just a few.
Great. So demand for these environmental services must be skyrocketing at the moment, which is great. And it's awesome to hear how technology is integrated so deeply into the stack.
Yeah, absolutely. And the technology we use across all of those consultancy pieces is really kind of impressive, and the broad range of capabilities we have of a business. And that's really what drives a lot of kind of clients to us, being that kind of partner of choice for them, where we can provide a capability that expands their ability to deliver their kind of renewable projects quicker and sooner, meeting all those environmental impact assessments that exist all around the world.
Yeah. So the sort of big one I think we need to talk about though is artificial intelligence, which everyone is talking about, but in the environmental space, the use is quite different to what an insurance company might get up to, for example. So I know that you've spoken to your team about AI quite recently. What hopes and concerns stood out from them when you talked to them?
Yeah, so we've been running some digital awareness sessions. We did our first one about 2 or 3 months ago, and we chose AI as that kind of first topic, just to get people kind of excited into wanting to kind of learn and develop some kind of ideas a little bit more. And I opened the session with a really kind of simple human question, and it was just, how does AI make you feel? And the word cloud that generated was brilliant. We had kind of excited but nervous, apprehensive but positive, curious but concerned. But one of the other themes that really came out was concern for the environment, which is perhaps unsurprising for an environmental consultancy with the people that we kind of employ. But the most common answer that we got was efficient. And since running that session, we've had numerous stories from people around the business where they've tried a little bit of Gen AI, or they've approached us around kind of the potential of computer vision. And it's really kind of encouraged that kind of curiosity that we want to see from our teams, to try new things, to see what kind of technology can do to a business like ours and how that can improve it.
Right. How about any sort of, I suppose, what was the thinking from new joiners to the business, people who are quite early on in their career, entry level roles? We hear a lot about how AI is going to make entry level roles obsolete. Do you think that's accurate? And I suppose as a follow up question, is that just short-term thinking for companies to do that, or is it just good business sense to save money?
I think my honest answer to that is it depends. As a leader, I want efficiency, but I also want to grow future leaders. And junior roles bring those kind of fresh ideas and energy into businesses. And AI can help, but it shouldn't replace that kind of human spark. I think it's all about the kind of balance. With businesses like APEM, we're a very people-centric business, and I think we do need to find and strike that balance. And that is a challenge, definitely kind of a challenge as for all businesses, but particularly the people-centric ones. I think we have seen some companies go too far and roll back on some of those commitments. And there are plenty of others, I think, are just sitting there patiently waiting to see what happens. The one thing I am confident on, though, is that AI is more valuable with people and people are more valuable with AI. And the key for me is using that combination to solve some actual problems and not just using it because it's kind of trendy. I mean, we all wanted an app 10 or 15 years ago, and it's probably not dissimilar now in boardrooms. Everyone wants to be kind of talking about AI. But I think what we really need to do is force that kind of clarity, which for me then builds trust with our kind of client and staff in how we're using AI in the right way.
It does feel like everyone in AI at the moment wants to be a fast follower. Nobody wants to take the leap and be the first one to take the plunge, because then you might be a Klarna or a Duolingo who get rid of their staff and then have to rehire them. So yeah, we're at a sort of a tipping point or a turning point at the moment in the adoption of artificial intelligence where people want it, but then don't quite know what to do with it yet. So very, very interesting sort of next few years. But I thought let's stick with this entry level role idea, because you say that it depends. So if people were to, or companies were to bring AI in to replace some elements of an entry level role, what do new starters positions look like in like an AI heavy future in that case? If the basic work that they've been doing for 10 or 20 years has been offloaded to artificial intelligence, what are they doing now?
There's no doubt that those entry level roles are evolving. So AI can handle the repetitive stuff as you've kind of just described, Tom. And it also kind of reminds me of my kind of early days in my career as a GIS analyst at the MOD, doing things like feature extraction, data analysis, and some levels of interpretation. If we accept that AI is already capable of performing those tasks, then what do we really need from those entry level jobs becomes a question for me. And I think we should be teaching things like critical thinking and creative thinking, skills that help people challenge some of the outputs that we get from AI, like what data have we used? Where did it come from? What assumptions has the AI made? Does it align to our kind of values as a business and as a society? And does that reflect any of the kind of biases that potentially it could be within there? For organizations like APEM, it's combining that kind of scientific expertise with that digital fluency and client-facing skills for us that would create really powerful sort of hybrid roles. So people who understand their domain but can use digital tools confidently and know what our clients kind of want and need. And those kind of hybrid roles really sort of drive what I think we'll need from those entry level roles in the future, where we focus a little bit more on those creative skills, client understanding. And I think it kind of still surprises a lot of people that I work with today when I point out that my degree and background was in geography and geology, but have ended then up in a very kind of focused technology CDIO role. And I think that's kind of exactly what we need a little bit more of across all sort of industries. I think gone are the days where you can be very specialized in sort of one vertical. Can we, spread that out to give people more rounded capabilities where you bring together the science with that digital fluency, with then that kind of understanding of what clients want and need.
I completely agree with you about the importance of these sort of creative and critical thinking skills. So I might slightly push back
Mm.
on it being important at just companies, because we need people to be entering the workforce with these skills. So it needs to be also, a large element of their education pathway from like 5 to 18 now as well. I know critical thinking was being taught when I was at school, but it was seen as a bit of a DOS subject, and it was also only taught in sixth form. So hopefully that will have spread out by this point, although I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly kind of a hope for me. So, having two young kids at primary school level, that's kind of what I would hope for them. If you ask me what kind of jobs are they going to be doing in sort of 10, 15 years when they leave school and go off to university or into the workplace, I don't know is the answer. but I would like them to kind of have those skills where they have the adaptability and the curiosity to go and explore technology and new ways of working, which is only going to increase in the pace. Certainly from when we went through kind of schools, perhaps in the sort of 90s, where computers were just coming into formation, that kind of change and development of technology is just flying along these days.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've got two young children in primary school. My own son's just been born. He's only a few months old. So when I think of what the future could look like for him when he turns 18, I've got no idea. I mean, technology is, infamously difficult to predict in the short term. In, I would say the medium term, in like 18, 20 years' time, no idea where we could be. But it's going to be a very interesting future. Hopefully not a terrifying one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is always the realization that people tend to overestimate what can be achieved in technology in that sort of 1 to 2 year period, but
Mm.
then massively underestimate what can happen in 10 years. And if we did that, rolling back 10 years ago, it's unimaginable some of the capability that we're seeing today in the marketplace.
Yeah, I remember actually we published through our sister site, The Inquirer, so 5 or 6 years ago, an article that had pretended to have been written by AI, and it was full of like beep, out of context error, and it was a joke because we could not see ever that AI then could have written, a decent article. And now here we are in 2022, and AI is generating content all over the internet. So yeah, it's things have changed very, very quickly and faster than most people expected, I think. So let's return to this entry level role question. I got one more question for you on that. What effect is the impact of AI on new starters going to have on the workforce in that midterm, 5, 10 years time? Are we going to see a lack of skilled middle managers, or do you think that's going to go a different way?
Yeah, I think there is a real risk here. If we get too many of those entry level roles, we do lose that kind of pipeline of talent. And I saw this in the oil and gas industry during the great retirement that they had with under hiring, which led to quite large skills gaps. And we do need to learn from that. So for me, there's kind of succession planning, which relies on people moving through the organization, fresh and innovative thinking. That needs people moving through our businesses as well. Social mobility kind of reduces as well with less entry level roles. And what happens to our kind of organizational culture or energy, which tends to come from kind of new, younger people coming into the business and driving that. So I spent most of the 2010s working in the oil and gas industry for UK oil and gas regulator. So the Oil and Gas Authority later became North Sea Transition Authority. And during that time, the great retirement that I kind of referenced, 50% of the workforce was due to retire within that sort of decade. And there was a real kind of lack of recruiting and people in that kind of 35 to 50 demographic. And the industry ended up paying premiums to attract skills, lacked that succession planning, and saw many, many projects delayed and huge cost overruns. But it did provide quite a lot of opportunity, particularly within digital transformation. It did create new career pathways for younger professionals to move up through the organizations a little bit quicker. And the bit that was quite interesting for me, and I'm an example of it, it did enable quite a lot of cross-sector mobility that I think we benefit from today, particularly in environmental consultancies like APEM. If you look to the kind of breadth and of experience across all of our different consultants and technical people, the range of different places that they've come from is quite impressive. But the real big lesson in all of that for me is it's the invest in people element. Really, really important from my point of view. It's people that kind of make businesses and make technology sing and work. The other piece that was a lesson from that sort of time was making sure we kind of capture that institutional knowledge and wisdom, and don't let that escape and disappear out the door. And I think that's where, AI in particular can be very useful if you can get your data management right and your processes right and you're capturing that sort of data, and we can train AI in a really positive way. And then the one that I've already mentioned is that then comes about with some of those kind of hybrid roles where people understand the technical scientific information, but then also have a nice understanding of the data management and the things that are needed to make AI really kind of run in the right way. So I think there are some risks there, and they've been kind of well documented and highlighted in many articles and documents over the last couple of years. But I do think there are some positives that come out of times of change, and being able to grab those opportunities and run with them is certainly something I hope I can do here at APEM, but also hope that many others can do that in the organisations that they work for and represent.
Yeah, the innovation coming out of the Great Retirement, I think, is a really great point. A sort of challenge leading to change. So yeah, hopefully that is something we'll see the industry react and respond to this new challenge, this disruption. So great stuff. Um, the elephant in the room, I think, for an environmental consultancy like APEM is AI's use of power. Um, where's the balance? I've talked previously to the National Grid CIO, Sarah Milton Hunt, about this. You need AI to unlock new efficiencies, but also it eats up a lot of power. So yeah, what are we looking at here? Where's the balance? What's the future going to look like with AI's ever increasing power draw?
As you can imagine, this is a really big one for us. I and we as APEM want to use technology to have a positive impact, and that does mean balancing the resources that AI and computing power uses, like energy and water, with the benefits that it can bring as well. So for us, it is, speeding up bringing new renewables online. So if we can bring forward the development of a wind farm by doing the environmental impact assessment quicker, that comes online a year earlier. We then have access to renewable power in a much kind of quicker way. The other side of our business as well, then within regulated water, we want to help all of those companies improve how they manage water in the UK and globally, and some of our footprint. So I think there is a balance to strike between bringing these big infrastructure projects online and improving the way that we are managing water and energy resources, and then trading that off against the compute power that's needed to make some of these things happen quicker and more efficiently, and bringing together the data that helps us make really good decisions to bring those things online quicker.
Mm.
The other side for us then is around kind of ESG commitments, and we take that very, very seriously and have that kind of aim for responsible growth. We've got that kind of leading level in our kind of ESG report, which is a great read. Please feel free to dive on our website and have a read through that. It's a really nice kind of read to show how serious we take that environmental and social governance. And the other thing that I'm really encouraged by at the moment, because we're seeing in a lot of the frameworks for organizations and companies that we do work for, is that's becoming part of the procurement processes. People want to kind of understand the level of compute power that we're kind of using, what our environmental footprint is, and challenge those kind of scope 1, 2, and 3 impacts that we're having on the environment. So, being able to ethically and environmentally do IT should be the standard and not that kind of exception that it perhaps has been over the last kind of few years. Really seeing that kind of baked into program and project delivery would be a really exciting time to be involved in IT.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you. Thanks for that, John. I've got one final question for you, also about artificial intelligence. We see a lot of chatter these days about, is AI a bubble? Is it another .com? Is there just a lot of circular investment that's keeping the price up? I'd love to hear your opinion as a CIO, sort of at the front end, who's using AI, who is, very familiar with the technology and with the market around it. Is AI and a bubble? Is it just inflated by its own hype?
Well, I don't think AI is anything new. I mean, what's kind of driven this kind of bubble really is probably the Gen AI element of it, and seeing people be able to kind of interact with it on a more kind of human level. But it is essentially just a tool, and we've had IT tools for many, many years. Kind of all the way through the 90s when, computer vision AI was kind of in its prime. We've lived through the kind of noughties and that kind of .com bubble, and websites kind of popping up left, right, and center. Through the noughties, we had our kind of apps and our kind of blockchain. All of these things are just a tool and just a piece of technology. what it comes back to for me is the underlying things that you need in order to make those tools and technology work, which is good data, good quality sort of information, and then really the kind of people to really make that kind of hum and sing. So I don't really kind of see AI as a bubble. I see it as just the next bit on that kind of technology trend, which will continue for many years to come. And if it's AI this week, it will be something else next week, and who knows what it will be in 5 or 10 years' time.
If I could predict that, then I would be a rich man.
Indeed, I think we both would.
Yeah, that's brilliant. John, thanks so much for joining me and for those great answers. Thanks for listening to this episode of Control Alt Lead. We're now back to our regular fortnightly release schedule, so you can expect plenty more fantastic episodes in the coming months to see you through to the end of the year and beyond. Until then, you can always head over to computing.co.uk for more insight, research, and analysis. And if you're a leader with a story to tell or an opinion like John's, please do get in touch with us at tomallen@thechannelcompany.com. Until next time.